people, Kayla Dominique here, and today I will be talking about fun and practical tips for losing weight and getting healthy. This is something I'm excited to talk about because it is something that I have done recently and something that I have been able to keep up. I am not a dietitian, a nutritionist, a fitness guru, fitness trainer, anybody who deals with those kinds of things. I am a stay-at-home mom who homeschools her 4 fairly youngish children. I know what it's like to have the second birthday party of a month at the pizza place where they're going to have the pizza buffet and then the cake and all of that, and you're going to be sitting in a corner like, I'm not supposed to eat that. I'm not supposed to eat that. That is the perspective at which I am giving you this information. Before we get started, I want to give you all a little bit of background information and context so that you know where I'm coming from. Like I said, I'm a mother of 4. I gained 40 pounds over the course of my 4 pregnancies. After the first pregnancy, I held on to about 10. Just never quite got that off. After the first 10, I was like, okay, yeah, that happens. After the second, I was up 20, and I'm like, okay. Then after the third, I held on to yet another 10, and I was like, okay. And then after the fourth, I was like, Kayla, you are up 40 pounds. You've got to get yourself together. You've got to reclaim yourself. And it wasn't just about, oh, you just want to look a certain way. You just want to look lean and all of that. For me, I realized when I was running after my children, I was getting winded. I realized I was uncomfortable doing certain things because I had extra weight on myself. For me at the time, low carb was a good launching pad because I really just had absolutely no knowledge on nutrition, fitness, wellness, anything. So that kind of steered me in the right direction. And from there, I was able to research and learn what my body needed, what my body craved, what was healthy and right for my body, and I was able to make different decisions that worked better and worked well for me. Even in the midst of doing keto and low carb, I was always very flexible within that. Some people call it cheat days, but I was so flexible that I can't even say it was cheat days. I mean, some days we were cheat weeking it. We ate a lot of pizza during that time. And I was still able to keep the weight loss going even in that season. So with that, let's get on with these tips. Tip number 1 is to get moving. There is so much to unpack in this one. For one, we can be standing instead of sitting. With our computers, with our phones, we can get so much done without even leaving our seats. That is not the best for our bodies. Historically, people got work done by moving, by laboring with our bodies. That is just not the case anymore. We have to be intentional about moving our bodies. In the mornings, instead of getting our morning coffee and sitting down to respond to emails or to scroll through Facebook, we stand instead. We can use this as a time to do stretches, to do lunges, to do calf raises as we are typing. It's very easy for us to get trapped in a social media binge when we're sitting on the couch and just laughing it up at all the memes and the GIFs and all of that. But when you're standing, it's not quite as convenient, so you're more inclined to say, hey, you know what? I think I've been on here for 30 minutes. I should log off and get started with my day. Another option is as your children are playing, just do loops, walking around their area. If they're at the swing set or if they're just running around the yard, walk around the yard. I know as a mom, we spend a lot of time just wanting to take a breather, but really walking is not all that exhausting and strenuous. You can do a little bit of both. Try walking a little bit, then having a seat. Another thing I do as a stay-at-home mom is I dance. There's nothing like having upbeat music going in the house, which I usually do, and I just dance. I mean, even if I'm washing dishes, I'm like, bouncing around and I'm just doing my thing. My kids know that I am prone to just break out into dance, so every so often they'll have their little recommendations, Alexa play, and we'll just have dance offs. I don't know if you think that that's not a workout, but have you ever had a floss off with your child? I mean, I've gotten a little winded doing 3.5 minutes of dancing with my kids. It's such a good bonding experience with our kids, but it's also just a fun thing to do, period. The next tip is to just eat the cookie. But I used to have this belief that, oh, you ate something bad, you might as well eat more bad stuff now. Because of this, if I ate a cookie, I would just go ahead and eat 5 cookies or the roll of cookies. Hey, let's just throw some milk in the loop. That is self-sabotaging behavior, and it is going to get you further from where you want to be. I feel like a lot of this thinking comes from the diet culture where elimination is key rather than moderation. So if you eat something bad and it's small, you think, oh, I've done it now. I've blown the whole day. I might as well just go ahead in full indulgence mode. Your girl here loves sweets. It's just something I'm not going to get over. And you know what? I've realized I don't have to get over it. What I do have to do is be aware of this. For starters, I like sweets. And I have to also be aware that it's okay to take small amounts rather than huge amounts. Oftentimes when you have a huge slice of anything, you're more likely to just take it down really fast, as opposed to when you have something small, you cherish it. That's just how we go about life. When your child has tons of toys, they just kind of floop, 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 floop. Whereas when they have a small amount of toys that they cherish, they really treasure and value them more. In the same way, when you take the concept of enjoying yourself through food in moderation, it is so helpful in creating healthy habits rather than having this, eliminate this, don't have any carbs ever. That kind of mindset can be really destructive and really promote unhealthy habits, period. All that being said, you have to know what your body can handle. Each of us were uniquely and wonderfully made, and we each have things that we can handle. The next tip is to think it through. This is a huge one because we as a culture have been trained to eat when we are told it's time to eat. If you grew up going to public or private school, you probably got up somewhere between 5:30 and 7 and you ate breakfast because you needed to eat breakfast before you got to school. Then you ate lunch when it was lunchtime, and then you generally ate dinner when you got home and dinner was ready. There was not a lot of flexibility within that. As an adult, I have realized that just because it's how I've always done it doesn't mean it's the way it has to be. I have realized that when I have a proper dinner, I do not wake up hungry. I just don't. I always wake up thirsty. Always, because you've been sleeping for a while. So I do. I always wake up thirsty, and I usually wake up and have some water or some tea. But I rarely just wake up I gotta eat. Whereas when I grew up, I did wake up with that thought process of, oh, I'm up, it's time to eat cereal, it's time to eat whatever, because that's what I'm supposed to do. Another thing we can do when we're thinking it through is to analyze what our day looks like. Me and my husband are very, very fortunate to have a weekly date night. I know on these date nights, I'm going to eat. And I'm probably going to have some dessert too. And I'm not holding back. I'm getting what I want. But because of this, I usually have a light meal around brunch time. And then I might snack a little around 2 or 3. And that's it until I eat dinner. Because that's all my body needs. I don't want to feel restricted, but I do need to be wise with my choices before that. It's always funny to me when the holidays come around and we're like, I can't believe that I just ate all of that food, as if we were surprised and we didn't do it the year before and the year before and the year before. We can make choices beforehand that really help us. If you know Thanksgiving morning, oh, grandma's making her sweet potato pie and Tommy's making that huge honey ham, you might go light on breakfast and lunch. Another thing we can do is ask ourselves, are we hungry or are we thirsty? So often we'll get this internal cue from our taste buds, from our stomach, that we want something. And most often we assume that that's food. But what I realized personally is sometimes you might just be thirsty. You might be getting dehydrated for one. That's a major thing. You might have a craving for something sweet, and that can be easily satisfied with a cup of tea or even a small cup of coffee and stevia. It's not always a screaming, eat something, eat something. It could be as simple as drink something, drink something. The next tip I have is to find healthy substitutes for things you love. Would you believe it if I told you that most mornings I eat pancakes with eggs while still being able to maintain and often lose weight? It is true. It is absolutely true. Now, the pancakes that I eat are not Mrs. Buttersworth or whoever makes pancakes. I make my own pancakes out of ground up oatmeal rather than flour, and I add a sugar substitute rather than sugar itself, and a few other things, but they are so good. Another thing I do is I make my own popcorn. Popcorn has such a bad rap, and it's so sad because it's actually a very low calorie, very delicious snack when done right. It's all of the junk and gunk that they put into commercially made popcorn that makes it bad for you. Like I have said, I have a sweet tooth. It is nearly incurable. Because of that, I have looked for ways to satisfy that sweet tooth, ways that are healthy rather than harmful. Things like chewing sugar-free cinnamon gum, things like drinking tea with a little bit of stevia, or drinking unflavored seltzer water with stevia. Little things like that really satisfy the craving without the guilt afterwards. I am a huge fan of Asian food. Because I like Asian food, I like stir-fry noodles. That's a lot of carbs. That's a lot of carbs. To combat this, I have learned to make it myself rather than always eating it out. And two, I've learned to mix in the lo mein noodles with a shirataki plant-based noodle. Together, you cannot tell the difference, but it is so much better for you. I also really load in the veggies and all the good stuff as opposed to having a huge noodle dish with a little sprinkle of veggies here and there. My husband loves steak and potatoes. He's that guy. Instead of having that as a full meal, what we usually do now is we'll have steak one night with a salad and then a baked potato another night with a salad. That way, you're still getting the best of both worlds, but you're making a healthier choice. The next tip is to have a friendly competition, and if you are competitive, this could be a game changer. There are apps out there specifically designed for people like me who like to look at leaderboards, like to compete. They're pushed and driven by seeing their results and the results of others. Outside of apps, there are just friends and family who would love to be a part of a little healthy competition. Not too long ago, my husband put together a competition, nothing fancy, just through text message, where they all got their stats. They didn't post it, but they listed their stats for themselves at the beginning of the competition, and then they listed the stats at the end of the competition, and whoever had the best stats won the competition. It was so incredibly motivating for so many people on that chain that even after the competition was finished, many of them kept on going. And then, of course, who better to compete with than yourself? I am always trying to challenge myself to be more efficient, more effective than I was before. If you ever seen a kid like run a lap and then they're like, oh, I bet I could do it faster. Or they do a flip and they're like, oh, I bet I could do it better. And they just keep on going, keep on going. That is such a healthy thing to carry into adulthood. I might do something super simple and super silly, like set the clock for 15 minutes and time myself to see if I can load the dishwasher, wipe the counters, and get the floor swept after dinner within that time frame. It's just things like that that keep me moving, keep that heart rate up, keep those calories burning, and it's such a good thing. The next thing is to treat yourself while putting in the work. If you're anything like me, you have very full days. At the end of the day is generally when it is best for me to work out, but it is also usually when I am tired. We need some incentive. I love the treadmill, I love the elliptical, and I love a few shows. I'm not a big TV person, but there are a few shows that I've come back to time and time again. Those are the shows that I reserve exclusively for when I am working out. If I allowed myself to watch the show anytime I wanted, I don't think it would give me quite the incentive to do it. But because I have shows that I watch only when I'm working out, it encourages me to get up there, put in the time, and I never regret it. It's always the starting that's hard, but as soon as I hit the treadmill, as soon as I hit the elliptical, I'm always glad I'm there. Another way to treat yourself while putting in the work is to invest in some really nice workout clothes. Now for me, this is not a huge thing, but I know for a lot of people, this can be so super encouraging. So I wanted to put this out there. I have a lot of friends who just think it is the ultimate to get a new workout outfit. So go for it if that is you. At the end of the day, I think it's just important for you to find what motivates you to put in the work. My last and final tip is to make a date of it. This comes in many forms. It took me becoming adult to realize how many adult sports and athletic leagues there are. I am so blown away by the opportunity for adults to get out there. Now, as a mother, I know that that is not always an easy task or an easy feat, but it is an option. What this also looks like is meeting friends at the park. I know personally in the past when I've met my friends at the park with my kids and their kids, it's so easy for us to kick up our feet and just let our kids run around the playground and just chill. As a mom, that is absolutely what I want to do. But I've also realized that it is just as easy and so much more gratifying to ask that friend, hey, do you mind if we do a few loops around the playground area? Instead of being stagnant in our seats, we're getting up and we are walking around the area in which our children are playing. That is just more intentional, healthier behavior. Another way you can make a date of it is to literally incorporate it into your date. As I mentioned, me and my husband are very grateful for our weekly date nights. And those are usually the times where we really eat. It just is. It's just the time for us to talk and just enjoy each other's company and enjoy the food that's on our plate. Because we know we are likely to do this, there have been times when we have gone to the park beforehand and just walked. Going to the park changes up the scenery, it encourages meaningful conversation, and you're getting exercise in. I don't know about you, we live in Texas. Everything is bigger in Texas, including the portion sizes. A lot of the time, the problem isn't what we're eating, it's how much of it we're eating. We'll get a plate eating out knowing, looking at it, I don't know about you, but I have literally said, whoa, that's a lot of food, and then proceeded to eat the whole lot of food. Ask for a to-go box and set some aside. And it's so awesome because if you really enjoyed the meal and it's something that heats up well, then now you essentially get it twice. You get what you have in front of you and you get what you're taking home. At the end of the day, all of this is about being intentional. As moms, as women, as human beings, it is not always easy for us to get all glamorized and put on our Lula what's-her-face workout gear and go out and just have the best workout of our lives. It's a great thought, but it's not always practical. There are great tips out there that yield fast results, but what I have learned is if they don't work for me or if I can't keep them up long term, then they're no good. Health and fitness goals can often feel huge and unattainable. When you make them fun, when you make them light, when you make them practical and sustainable, it can really take the weight off, like pun intended. Thanks so much for watching. I'd love to hear if these tips were helpful for you. Let me know in the comments which one benefited you the most. If you have tips that you do and yield great results from, let us know in the comments because I know I'm always looking and I'm sure there are several people who would be grateful to have those as well. I wish you all so much success in your health and wellness journey. And until next time, see ya!